right. Hey, everybody out there in YouTube land. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun, and we're back talking Severance, Season 1. Season 2 starts January 17th. It's the 21st of, holy shit, it's the 21st of December. And yeah, 2025 has not started yet. And I've decided that I'm going to be talking about Severance Season 2 and see how many of these Severance Season 1 videos I can get through and talk about before the next new season starts. Why? Because I missed talking about Severance when it first came out. I love this freaking show. I can't wait to dive into what the hell is going to happen at the beginning of throughout season 2. Um, and I know that I'm like one of the last people to talk about this. I'm sure there will be plenty of people that talk way better than me at this, but I really want to talk about this show myself, just for my own shits and giggles, and for anybody else who likes hearing my stupid voice. Um, and so we're off to the races right off the bat. We're on episode 2. It's called Half Loop. Uh, I didn't really get into a lot of the mystery of this show. I talk a lot about how it makes me feel. It's how a lot of my content goes. But like, we didn't really talk about the mystery because to me, it's like kind of the least interesting part of it because I'm just more interested in what the mystery does to our characters. And thankfully, though, both are so equally good, and there's so much to talk about. I went onto the Severance wiki just to look up stuff about Keir Egan, the CEO of Lumen Industries that died in 1939 after being the head of it for 70 some years. Now, think about this. If he died in 1939, it says, this fictional guy, by the way, he's not real. I got to make sure I don't talk about him like this. But it means he started that corporation. Like, it's what did a corporation 73 years before 1939 even look like? Because, we're talking like Civil War, before the Civil War, right? So 2919, I'm doing math like live here while I'm recording this. So 29, 99, 99, 89, 79, 69. So yeah, holy shit. So yeah, like at the end of the Civil War, this guy starts his company, his corporation. I just want to know what it looked like back then because when you go to the actual like wiki, I love it. Go to the wiki for Severance if you want to see some weird shit, man, because it's like written like it's real. But we'll talk more about, I guess, when we get to. There's a couple of things I want to talk to you guys about it, but definitely check it out because it's like it goes into this guy's like life and career. And I mean, the fact that somebody like archived all this, like actually thought of all this and put it out there, it's amazing. But I mean, I guess if we want to get into the like mystery of this, like the company of Lumen and everything, it will be hard not to talk about Kier. But like I said, I'll get to that when we talk about Irving going to see Miss Casey in this episode. Um, Also, like besides, like I talked about Shapiro's musical score for this, which is just so haunting and so catchy, and oh my gosh, like I should get it. I haven't changed my ringtone in a long time. It's been the X-Men the animated series ringtone for a really long time. Maybe it's time for a change. I don't know. Maybe I just need to put Severance on a special ringtone for like a special place or person. But the intro, man, is one of the most dope freaking intros of all time. Such imagination to the whole thing. I love it. Uh, but this, let's get into it. Let's get start talking about this weird ass Dharma Initiative type place because that's one of the things that this makes me think of is the Dharma Initiative. Uh, Completely, if you don't know the Dharma Initiative, it's from Lost. One of the more interesting like aspects I think of that show. Um, but in this episode, we get to see things from Helly's perspective before she gets severed. So we get to see her whole process. Uh, and everybody's a mystery on this show. And In this, we get some definite looks into who Helly's outie really is. At the first of this, right, it just seems like she's any old employee getting this done, right? Except it's fucking brain surgery, man. She's getting a hole in the back of her head. Like, you see the x ray, you see how far down that thing goes in? And when it goes in, does everybody else notice that it opens a little bit? Now, is that to be like a hindrance, like the hindrance saying, okay, once this is in, it can't come out? Why? Because we've designed this little thing that it looks like that if you try to take it out, it's going to pull shit out of your brain. It might actually hurt. Like, did anybody else see the little wings pop open inside her head? Anyway, dude, Milchick takes a creepy ass picture. The whole thing. For posterity, for Helly herself. I mean, why would it be for Helly? If she's never gonna, know about this. Um, and I'm trying to leave. So we get to jump right up to where she goes in, and we see her perspective of Helly R, the severed employee, trying to leave. And she's not an idiot. Her Audi's not an idiot. She's like, I'm trying to leave. But immediately, here's the lie, right? Whoever Helly is and as an Audi, she's being lied to by Milchick now, right? He's not telling her, whoever she is, for whatever reason, he's chosen to lie to her about wanting to leave because he doesn't want to scare her, right? But it's the way it comes off, man, that and again, I come from a culty background, and this company to me, it feels like it's one. This story could very easily be like one started by a man with very strange ideas that we ended up becoming corporatized. I almost see this place as being like a proving ground for something that might be useful all over the world. They talk more about that stuff in this episode as well. Um, but he's lying to her, you know. Um, when she says it again, like, I really don't want to be in there, do I? He still has some other angle towards about it. And then he says something that like piques your interest. This is only episode 2. He says, when we heard you, specifically her, were coming, it was like a miracle. It's amazing what you're doing. So automatically you go, okay, this doesn't sound like something he would say to any old employee. I mean, it's not out of the realm of impossibility that this is kind of like a scripted conversation, but this doesn't feel like something scripted. He sounds genuinely honored to be in her presence because he is a very scary individual, and I don't think that he can switch gears like that unless he's sincere. His sincerity, his fake sincerity that he uses amongst the other employees, doesn't sound this sincere. So even though I know, right, I'm trying to beat around the bush for the people that haven't watched this season already. I'm chomping at the bit to just talk about it, but like he's lying to her at the same time he's like revealing some very important details that are she's somebody important. She's somebody that like we don't know who she is to him, how he knows her, but it definitely lets you know that like whoever she is really wanted to be down there, and it's considered brave that she's doing this. And why would she be doing this? If she really wants to be down there, what is her purpose for being down there? Is it to guarantee success? Is it to show that it works? Because that's how it comes off to me, even me knowing the secret. So anyway, that's the first kind of thing I wanted to talk about. We got through that. So then we get to Mark, who he Mark's a mess. We know that he's had a loss. We know that because of the date that he goes on in this episode, like we know that he's a drinker. We already kind of know that. Um, but in this episode, like he comes off as like, I mean, he gets drunk on his date with the midwife and who's asking questions and making him uncomfortable. Is he uncomfortable though because he just doesn't feel right because he's been presented with, he's been already seen this guy named Petey. Uh, so compounding whatever he's feeling and why he even went down to Severance, but now he's got this guy putting an idea in his head that things, might not be great, and it feels like he's kind of fighting that because for him, right, he's suffering, and man, I don't know how far ahead I want to get, but like in his first scene, right, we see him going through the routines that he always does, just and it's not much of a job, all the time. Like he's going around just vacuuming, swiffering the little, like dust. What do they call those things? I used to use them all the time at restaurants to clean floors. Um, but he's doing that. He's dusting, and he gets to the picture of Petey, and he hides it. He hides it like a child would hide something from his parents. So these, one of the interesting aspects of these people is they, without any memories, and any they still know how to be people in a lot of ways, but they do things in a more innocent way of like we can't upset somebody. He doesn't want to get rid of this picture, even though it's part of protocol to remove these things so that they don't linger on memories. I mean, a lot of this work, is set up to feel like, oh, we're just if this was like my job, right? And I already said like I'm not the kind of person I think in the first episode we talked about that I could never be severed, like I couldn't handle it. But the thing is like if I did, I actually have a feeling that my like if I got had to go if I chose to be severed to go do what I do now, I would probably be running the place. I would probably my ambitious working side that's inside me without all my baggage going into a job. Like if I'm not carrying a bunch of shit that's already on my mind with me, I'd probably be running my business like within a year. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the right way to do anything. I'm just saying that realistically, I would probably excel at it. Except there's just one problem. Would I also carry over my problem with people telling me, ordering me, and micromanaging me? If that carried over too, like that bit of my personality, then there'd still be trouble in paradise. But anyway, to talk more, like to talk more about how these people are, right? Uh, but they're also like what he talks about with Helly is like we don't experience sleep, we get the benefits of it. But there's more than that. Like Mark, when they first in the first episode, they said, "Mark, you look terrible," right? Well, Mark's a drinker, so if he's not going to bed, like like drinking some nice water, taking some aspirin every day, he's going to be coming in, and maybe that's one of the reasons why Mark is the way Mark is because he's not getting great sleep. He's coming in hungover. He didn't get to party the night before, but he still has to go through 8 hours of fucking work after his innie, probably comes into work just really slammered. He could probably be coming into work probably a little hammered still a lot of these days. Um, but they on days though, like for anybody else that's not Mark, they get the benefits of coming in with like high energy and happiness and all this other things that I have. Like when I first get to my job every day, I'm usually in an all right mood unless traffic sucked or the road sucked or something happened with my car or something crap like that. I'm usually in a pretty decent mood. It's the place that crushes you as soon as you get there. Um, so, but they don't, but they have stuff that is quietly crushing them too. They just don't talk about it. Um, Now, this is where we get brought up of the incentives. They talked about the waffle party in episode one, but this is where we see like this is again the bullshit stuff that they do to make you feel like you're doing something. But like if this is your routine, um, which is for Dylan, played by Zach Cherry, he's the one that's embracing this. So he's got finger traps and erasers and caricature portraits. You know, like he's all this to find like codes within this computer. It's but that's kind of like how I like wrote these all down. That Dylan embraces this. Irving has the routine. Mark is on autopilot, and Helly's the rebel. Um, and a lot of this stuff, like with Irving and talking about like the, why did you take the pictures down when we don't have the new ones up? This is all like usual office stuff. There's gonna be those kind of people who like I'm kind of this way a little bit at my own job, is I'm a bit of a rule follower. So when things like don't go like followed by the rules, I can be that guy. I can. Not all the time, all right. I'm just, I carry myself differently at work. I'm a professional, damn it. Um, but like all this like usual office stuff to me is just made creepier because of the disconcerting, scary numbers that they're supposed to be looking for. Like it's, I don't know. Oh, and when they bring up like when Helly brings up like where they talk about, well, if you think about it, Helly, if you leave here, if you quit, you're effectively ending your life. That you that you get to be is gone. And I guess it's like they're saying, do you realize that you are a different you here? They talk about gratitude later on in this, by the way, too, of having this life. And there is something interesting, but it's like nobody asked for this. Your Audi asked for this. You didn't ask for this. You're just you're just like basically nothing. And they want you to have gratitude for being this nothing that you get to be. You get to create like a whole new version of yourself, and you're supposed to feel gratified by this. But the rules and the way that they try to control you, how can you be gratified? How can you be happy? No, all you can be is controlled. Oh boy, here we go. Got to rein it in. Rein it in. The 9 lumen principles get brought up at the little Helly party, the introduction party that she gets. Find out one of them is cheer. I believe the other one's gratitude. One of the other ones is gratitude. It's got to be. Um, we find out that Mark has been here for 2 years, and I think he's slipping. I think that that's like the way he's responding. Like they won't let him just say the same thing he did before. And when he actually talks, this is what happens because he starts talking about and he turns himself in. He tells on himself that he hid the picture of Petey, but it's like he couldn't help himself. It's like he wanted to just, if he talked about it, maybe like somehow he'd get an answer. But I think it's like he's I don't know. How he's immediately allows Milchick to shut him down is abuse. That is textbook freaking way that browbeaten people, anybody shouldn't just say browbeaten. Anybody's experience. A lot of people who experience abuse can become this way. And Helly sees it, and she's just like, I'm out of here. Like I don't want any part of this, right? And she takes off with a note that says, I quit. And this is where we meet Granger for the first time, another rough and tumble looking motherfucker who all the lights go red. I'm not telling you guys anything you haven't seen. If you haven't seen this episode, by the way, spoilers for everything. No, but just spoilers for this episode. And Mark takes the fall for this. He gets her out of it and he is taken to the break room. Now, I wrote here, I've never eaten the break room. I don't like break rooms. Never have. They seem like places you're supposed to want to go, but you really don't want to. And I think that this break room pretty much is like they say, we don't want to go there. You don't want to go there. But once you're there, oh shit, you're going to wish you could leave. And I feel like calling wherever this is, and we're not going to get into this fully, But Miss Kobo is there, played by Patricia Arquette, and she's scary as fuck, ready to do whatever you do in the break room. But it doesn't look like you're on much of a break. You go in that room and it's a dark ass hallway. But this is where we get to where Mark goes on that date, right? We find out half the town works for Lumen, and he thinks he's a corporate historian. Well, he's getting pretty plowed, and he runs into this group called the Whole Mind Collective, where they're trying to bring attention to the fact that uh, somebody is trying to get legalized severance. That it wouldn't just be people like Mark, it'd be anybody that worked at Lumen, I think, and more. And I think again, this is like one of those things where it's like they're trying to see how it works. How much can they keep quiet about any side effects or people that don't want to do it or even deaths that have occurred? We haven't even like discussed any of that because none of that information has been given to us. These people are kind of our first entryway into, besides the dinner party guests who would just have opinions, this is an actual group that's fighting against it, talking about children's brain health and stuff like that. Um, but he drunkenly attacks them. And like I said, I think he's just misdirecting his confusion, anger, upset. He's drunk. She's been questioning him, making him think even more. Um, and Miss Selvig then, right? She shows up. He's drinking even more. And she's there again. And she's basically a spy. She's his boss at work and she's spying on him at home. And to us, the audience, she's not fooling us, of course, but we just don't know what is her ultimate goal here. Is she being forced to be there? Is she basically kind of like a corporate spy who is just there to check on Mark? They bring up like something with Mark called his freshman fluke, and then they have no audio over what he's saying, what it is. Is Mark some like savant at what they want? Is he some kind of linchpin to this whole thing? And the thing is like none of the things that I'm actually thinking about like for the future have any kind of tie to any kind of story like that. But it's just like, is she concerned that he might like give away corporate secrets? Is she just missing something in her life? Is she like, who is she to him? Why does she care so much? Right? What is she protecting? Is she protecting him? Does she think she's helping Mark? Like, I don't know, if I bring some bread over before he, goes to bed, maybe he won't be so hungover. Um, what is like, and I don't know. There's so much more to say about her because like she seems to really believe in what they're doing there. Um, and we'll get to as the season goes along. There's a lot more to say about this. Um, but I was thinking about how Mark only experiences, except for on his days off, right? But so on the weekend, he gets Saturday and Sunday morning. I'm assuming this is a Monday through Friday job. I can't remember. So, but during the week, he only experiences night and morning. He gets off of work, he gets drunk all night, he passes out, he goes, and then he just does it. Like he falls asleep in front of the TV. And as much as they talk about like where how Mark's innie is talking about like we get the benefits of severance and not having to sleep, but we get the rest. We feel rested. Mark, to me, and people like in this whole thing in general, would this be then like really easy for you to develop really bad habits? And I mean this by kind of like when you have like, at least for me, like everybody needs vacation, time off from work, time from doing anything. But we're pretty busy people. We're always active. We're always doing something. And when I find myself sitting around for too many days in a row without like going to work or whatever, or feeling useful, I start to, you can really get into some pretty bad habits. And I feel like with everything else that's going on in Mark's head, being severed isn't really helping anything. It's making it worse because we see, like, at least at Lumen, Mark has friends or, ish. and he's much more hopeful. He doesn't have this bad baggage, and he excels at his job when he isn't questioning things. So I just wanted to see how everybody else thinks about that, because I don't know. I think that that's one of the downsides of it as well, is being forming pretty bad habits for yourself when all you have is downtime, time to think. Not saying he doesn't still have things he would have to do, like general things, like go to the grocery store, get that, like, but like, visiting the doctor, going to see friends, going to a movie. But like, anyway, I think you follow me. You guys follow me, I hope, to what I'm trying to say here. Um, but then he calls in sick because he's going to go see Petey. And because Petey had this is a pretty short amount of time that has gone by since the start of the series. They're questioning at Lumen why he did this. Again, they are really, really, really like concerned about like what's going on here. Um, so he goes and he visits Petey. Um, and this is where Irving hallucinates. Now they call it like that he drifted off, right? But to me, he's straight up hallucinating. Is it an effect of having the device in his head for so long? That's kind of where I want to go, is long-term effects of what it can do to somebody, because I don't think he just fell asleep. Plus, that's nightmare fuel. The black goo stuff. Like the only other black goo that I can think of is the black oil from the X Files, and you don't want to touch that motherfucking shit. Um, but they send him on a wellness check where we meet Miss Casey, played by Dyke Lockman, who's from Dollhouse and other great stuff. I love her. She is Agents of freaking Shield, man. She spoilers. I wouldn't want to say who her character is on that show, but she's somebody's mom. But she's great in this, and she does Irving's wellness care thing, and it's just it's creepy, another creepy thing where she's telling him facts about his Audi, but it's all like just this weird script. It all just feels so scripted, and maybe it's true, but they make it sound like, even if it's true, they make it sound fake. They make it sound like something you read, like some sort of self-help like mantra, to you help people cross the street, you once solved a test, you once went and won a game. It all feels phony. But then you get to the part where he's supposed to enjoy each moment equally and show no favoritism to any one emotion. How did what is their metrics for wellness from this? And it's just, again, he can't tell anybody about this, but this is like, it feels like it's supposed to be, it's not a reward, right? He went there to do a wellness check so they don't have to send him to the break room. So I guess it's kind of like, because he had this moment, they're afraid that, I don't know. It's, again, it's so creepy and weird. And it all feels like, oh, this is meant to help you, when really it all feels like it's meant to do the opposite. But before he goes into the session with her and we meet Bert, played by Christopher Walken, they as he goes in that room, there's two plaques that have Keir Egan on there. One says, "Let not weakness live in your veins, and tame thy tempers." And I looked up, and I'll read this part of the wiki because I wanted to like kind of talk about like what the like part about what Lumen is, right? Is it says that his methodology, that Keir dedicated large amounts of his work to his philosophy that a life of service equated to the highest form of love. He embedded this idea in the formation of Lumen's corporate canon, and he dictated his ideas about corporate affection and his 9 corporate core principles in scripture-like doctrine that continues to guide Lumen employees to this day. To Keir, the love between worker and employer was more sacred and selfless than romantic love. One of Keir's most influential works was his theory on taming the four tempers of the human soul. According to Keir, he says, in my life, I have identified four components which I call tempers, from which are derived every human soul. Okay, here we go. Woe, frolic, dread, malice. Each man's character is defined by the precise ratio that resides in him. I walked into the cave of my own mind, and there I tamed them. You should tame the tempers as I did mine, then the world shall become but your appendage. It is this great and consecrated power that I hope to pass on to all of you, my children. Keir believed even tamed tempers were the key to achieving the purity of mind that he demanded of all those under his employ. Now, part of this sounds like, oh, like these are just kind of interesting and not necessarily harmful things. But the whole thing about worker employee being more like selfless than like a romantic, like, to me, that just sounds like a really long time ago, somebody found a way to break his employees without making them feel like they were broken. Uh, I mean, what are they cleaning? Also, by the way, right? Because Dylan seems to think that they're in some kind of post-apocalyptic world and that they're going down to use like control probes that use data to identify the things we can't live with under the sea. Meanwhile, Irving thinks they're just cutting swear words out of movies. You know, that old thing. But we meet Christopher Walken's Bert, optics and design, a two-person department, and they just come on like these two guys get along great. They're like two kids who just found friendship for the first time. Like it's a really great relationship to see evolve over the course of this season, at least. That's all I really want to say about it because a lot of this stuff with Bert has to do with Dylan and Dylan's mistrust of uh, other departments, which is where we're going here right now with what Petey says to Mark about how they separate departments. This goes into like when Irving talks to Dylan about Bert. Dylan has this like thing, this like whole idea built up in his head that that guy's a fucker and the other departments, and it starts to like already show that there's something that's been ingrained in these people to fear the other people that they work with. And that's another just layer that's just being introduced very casually. Um, but Petey, he talks about this and that he's mapped out the floor and that he left a copy of this map for Mark S, the any version, to find. So we know that that's something that we'll need to look. This is definite foreshadowing for that. And Mark hides Petey in his house, but he's got reintegration sickness, which he's the first person to have. So they just named it, and that's what it is. He's not doing well. But before Petey collapses in Mark's bathroom, he plays something for Mark that I think is what really got him to bring him to the house in the first place, which is he hears himself being punished by Milchick in the break room, having be forced over and over to say that he's just a bad, he's in essence saying, I'm a bad boy and I got caught breaking the rules. And how it sounds like psychological torture. And this does not sit well with Mark S at all. But but also at the end of this, Helly sees the numbers for the first time while Irving and Dylan are arguing over the departments. She suddenly sees scary numbers. We don't know that she saw them as scary until after she cordons them off. How is she seeing this? Why is she seeing this? How are the numbers scary? What does that have to do with whatever's going on at Lumen and whatever they're doing? I fucking still don't know. All right? I don't think I do know. I don't think we know at this point, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything by saying I don't even fucking know. But it's just another crazy detail because I mean, when they talked about like the making of this show, I the one detail I want more than anything from them is I really hope they have a plan and that they're not just like biding their time until they pull something out of their ass and say, here, this is what it is. But if they've gone to the great lengths of creating, well, I mean, I don't know how great of lengths it is, but like to come up with the really detailed stuff about Lumen and Kier and stuff and put it on like its own little wiki as if it's real. I mean, at least it feels like somebody's got a plan. And I'll hopefully be talking more about this show as I get the time to do it. I found myself with a strange amount of time by myself today on this Saturday evening. The year of our Lord, the year of our Lord, the year of our Lord, 12, 21, 20, 24. I'm a weird guy. I think I'm the kind of person that has fun talking about this kind of show. I have weird interests, so hope you guys enjoy listening to me talk about this. Hopefully, you guys will hear me talk more about this show as we definitely be talking about it when the new season starts January 17th. I can't guarantee when the next one of these is coming, but I'll be trying to make them as soon as I have any spare free private time. So, hope if you are liking this, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you not in the break room, but on the next episode of our Severance discussion or any of the other millions of videos I have. Bye.